I was curious what Chat GPT had to say about using infinite banking and how to get started with infinite banking policy. So what did I do? Well, I asked it. And so in this video, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna read the 10 steps that Chat GPT told me that I needed to take to start an infinite banking policy, and then I'm gonna give my feedback at the end of each step. So if you're interested in content like this, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. That way you're notified every time I launch a new video. Let's go. What's going on, Cashflow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180. This video, we are talking about ChatGPT, infinite banking, how to get started, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read off the scripting of what ChatGPT has to say about getting started with infinite banking. I find this fascinating because of the fact that, ChatGPT, what they do is they scour a lot of the internet for you. So one of the great things I love about this is because it can help you do a lot of research for you. So if you are contemplating getting started, one of the things that you can do is you can go to ChatGPT and you can learn about what it has to say and its research. It's a great place to kind of start your research process. Now, is it everything? No, you can't rely on it implicitly. What I will say is I've read through this already, and I'll read the script to you a little bit, but I don't necessarily agree with everything it has to say here. I agree with most of it, fully transparently. I agree with most of what it has to say. I think it's a little bit too surface level for my opinion, for my taste, and I'll let you know where that is, where I do feel it's a little bit too surface level. And I think some of the orders and some of the order of operations that it gives is a little out of alignment, a little out of whack. And maybe focused in the wrong areas. But overall, I think it was a really good job, really good. There are a couple points in here that I think are good things to focus on, and we will go from there. So what I'll do is in black and white is when I'll be reading the script, and when I'm in color is when I'll be giving my feedback and my opinion. And so let's do it. All right, so starting an infinite banking policy typically involves several steps. Here's a general outline of the process. Number one, according to ChatGPT, understand the concept. Infinite banking is a strategy that involves using a specifically designed whole life insurance policy as a personal banking system. It allows you to accumulate cash value within the policy, which you can then borrow against to finance your purchases and investments. So that's a good intro. Yeah, I think everybody should do their research and really understand what they're getting involved with. I love how it says it's just a personal banking system that you can leverage and that you can borrow against to finance your purchases and your investments. One of the key things that I think says here when I did the search for infinite banking and when I did this query on ChatGPT on how to do infinite banking, how to implement it, the first thing, notice it says, you need a properly designed whole life insurance policy. Nowhere in this are you going to see Index Universal Life. And there's a lot of charlatans out there on the internet that talk about, yes, IUL is infinite banking on steroids. That's what they say. But the bottom line is nothing could be further from the truth. If you try to follow one of the people that say you can utilize IUL for infinite banking purposes, you are setting yourself up for a catastrophic failure. And that is my feedback on number one. Let's get to number two. All right, so the second step to starting an infinite banking policy, according to ChatGPT, is research insurance companies. Look for reputable insurance companies that offer whole life insurance policies suitable for infinite banking. Compare their policies, fees, and features to find the best fit for your needs. So this is amazing, right? Like this is, I think researching companies is a great step. I think maybe it's not necessary to put in here. I think the next step is gonna be find a qualified advisor. I think when you work with a qualified advisor, they're gonna help you research. Now, yes, do some research on the front end. I think that's one of the reasons we work with 5 companies, because not every company is gonna be able to offer the same benefits. I think there's a lot of people that focus on some of the smaller companies that are reputable. Some of the people focus on some of the larger companies because they have more better financials and balance sheets or whatever, or the perceived financial strength of being one of the top 4 companies and having huge general funds and all this stuff. That gives a perception of safety. But the bottom line is most of these companies are amazing, right? When we talk about the 5 companies we work with, some of them have, and some of the bigger companies, what I'll say is they can be good if you're talking about high net worth people, because they'll take your money. They'll allow you to put monstrous amounts of money into your policy, and we've had a lot of people do that. But some of the smaller companies are actually better fits for a lot of people, because things like, when you look at what is the goal of these policies, is to use a lot of paid up additions, right? And when you look at the paid up additions riders that you put into this, what most people don't realize is that there's a fee for these paid up additions riders. And with the bigger companies, the fees are higher on the paid up additions rider compared to using some of the smaller companies that we work with, that, when I say small, they're still big companies, but they're just small in comparison to the monstrous companies, right? Like, and when you think about really looking about what is the right company that's your fit, that is going to be in alignment with your goals and your values and your needs, I would say that if you go to the next one that I'll get into, and you work with the right kind of advisor, they'll be able to help you guide through that. But once again, yeah, you should do your own research always and try to figure out what are those fees. Now, I've done some videos that break down and do like a comparative analysis on all the different companies that show the different fees. So if you want that, just leave it in the comment section below, and I will link it up down there, and we'll go from there. So let's get to number 3. All right, so number 3 is find a qualified advisor. Seek out a knowledgeable and experienced financial advisor who specializes in infinite banking strategies. They can guide you through the process, help you understand the intricacies, and recommend appropriate insurance companies, right? So this is kind of an extension of what I said before. Yes, you should do your research. You should understand what you're getting involved with. Never just take anybody's opinion at face value. But then once you do that and you have this foundational understanding, then you work with a professional advisor, somebody like us. It doesn't need to be us, but make sure you work with somebody on the internet or somebody locally that really understands this. And the bottom line is, very few agents understand how to do this properly. And so working with an agent that doesn't just represent one company. There's a lot of captive agents out there that work with companies that cannot help you purely in this way, and working with somebody that can connect you with a company that's truly aligned with your needs, your values, your goals, your objectives is a key thing. It's one of the most important things. So that is number 3. So the 4th step, according to Chat GPT, is to apply for a whole life insurance policy. Work with your advisor to apply for the whole life insurance policy from the chosen insurance company. Provide the necessary personal and financial information required for the application process. So that's the 4th step. Depending on the level of financial background that you have, if you're a higher net worth individual, there's going to be a much deeper financial questionnaire that goes along with getting a policy, because obviously their anti-money laundering concerns are higher. And there's a lot of concern around that with whole life insurance, because there's so many tax benefits and there's so many reasons that people would want to filter money in to the whole life insurance policy, that you got to make sure you do this the right way. And you got to understand that sometimes the financial questionnaire in this can take months to get through. The higher the net worth, the bigger the policy, the longer the underwriting period, and it's important to understand that. So what I would say is, the only place that I really disagree with this is the number 4 notion to this is just getting right into the application process. I think there's good to that and there's bad to that. One of the things that we coach is, yes, you want to start the application process, but they're missing a step between 4 and 5. So I'm going to just touch on it right now. Is, yes, we want to start the application process, because you're never committed to anything when you start the application process. It's simply trying to see what kind of approval the insurance company would give you. And what you want to do, because of the fact that the approval process typically takes 45 to 60 days, what you want to do is you want to figure out, all right, I'm going to apply for this. I'm going to try to get my rating from the company. And at the same time as I'm going through that process, I'm going to be dialing in my financials. I'm going to, if maybe you have everything figured out, maybe you're in really amazing financial shape, but maybe you have some debt, maybe you have some other things, other kind of loose strings in your personal finances that you need to clean up. This is a time where you would work with your advisor, work with your coach, work with your agent to help you clean that stuff up and help you figure out how do the rest of your personal finances align with your infinite banking strategy. How are they going to coexist together? Because that's a thing that a lot of people miss, is that when you implement infinite banking as a part, like a major foundational portion of your financial life, it's going to impact everything, and it's going to be an amazing thing. but it's also not seamless. You got to look at all your personal finances and realize, like, okay, we're making this big shift over here. How does it impact everything else over here, right? And that is a big thing. Now, it is, I'm telling you, when you do it, they're not major shifts that you need to make. It's just more of an understanding on the flow of money in your life. And so go through that process. Make sure you go through that educational journey, because you should never put money into anything you don't understand. And that's why getting right into the application process is good. My problem isn't really number 4 being starting the underwriting and applying for the whole life insurance. My problem is the fact that number 5, they jump completely over all the things I just talked about, and they skip it, and it's not really in this process. So I think it's important to inject this in to really understand. But for the most part, this has been really good, this process. So let's get into number 5. All right, so the 5th step, according to Chat GPT, on how to getting started with infinite banking is to undergo medical underwriting. This is an extension of number 4, where you apply. In most cases, you're going to need to undergo a medical underwriting process, which may involve providing a medical history, completing a medical exam, and having blood work done. The insurance company will assess your risk profile and determine your insurability and your premium rates. So this is a big thing. There are situations, if you're young and you're healthy and you got a good medical background or history, and you are not going for a policy that's too big, you can achieve with a lot of these companies what's called accelerated underwriting. You can get a preferred status without having to go and do a crazy medical exam and blood work. However, a lot of people sell that as a big positive. What my experience is that only a small percentage of people actually qualify for that, because you have to be extremely healthy. You have to have an extremely positive medical history. And sadly, in this country, not many people kind of fit that parameter to be able to do that. So just to understand that that's part of the underwriting process that I was talking about in number 4. When we talk about this number 5, this is one of the reasons it takes 45 to 60 days on average, because you're going to have to go through and get the medical exam, do the underwriting, do the blood work, do all that stuff, peen a cup, do all that stuff. It is insurance. But also they're going to look for, most of the time, they're going to look for like attending physician statements. And that attending physician statement can take up to 30 days for your doctor to respond to. That's a big reason it takes so long for the underwriters to make a decision. They have to wait for your doctor to respond. And if it takes them 30 days, the whole underwriting process gets held up. And so that's just, I think, something to understand when you're setting your expectations for how long this stuff can take. All right, so the 6th step in starting your infinite banking policy, according to ChatGPT, is review and sign the policy. Once your application is approved, carefully review the terms and conditions of the policy. Understand the premium payments, the death benefit, cash value growth, and any other relevant details. If everything meets your expectations, sign the policy. I think this is this number 6 here is kind of semantics at this point in time. Obviously, never sign anything you don't understand. If you work with an agent, and if you follow the process and you follow the steps to this point in time, and you're working with an agent, an advisor that's been coaching you and working with you and doing all this stuff with you, well, then obviously you are going to understand what you're getting involved with. Number 6 is really just checking to make sure that everything that you've signed is in alignment, or everything that you're about to sign is in alignment with everything you've talked about. At this point in time, you should completely understand it, and it's just about kind of dotting your I's, crossing your T's, making sure everything is in alignment with the process that you've gone through to this point in time, to make sure no errors were made. Because sometimes when you submit things to companies and you get the final illustration to sign, errors do come back. And so we need to and this should be your agent, this should be you. Honestly, your agent should do this to make sure that there are no errors. But once again, this is your money, it's your life, and so double checked, right? It's like that trust yet verify kind of mindset. And so that is that one. Let's go on to number 7. So the 7th step to starting your infinite banking policy, according to ChatGPT, is fund the policy. All right, so to start building cash value within the policy, you'll need to make premium payments. Work with your advisor to determine the appropriate funding level based on your financial situation and goals. This is a big thing. The amount that you fund the policy at, the level that you make your premium payments and make deposits into your banking strategy, is a big deal. It's important to understand that what you're doing is you're capitalizing your financial strategy. And as we said, in number one, you are utilizing your policy to capitalize your bank, so to speak, that you can borrow against for major purchases and investments. I'm a big believer you only want to make purchases of cash flowing investments. Yes, you can use it for other assets like cars and other major capital purchases that you would make. If you're a business, you can use it for major equipment and stuff of that nature, which is a really, really positive way to use it. But the bottom line is, I think the purpose of this is why I kind of coined the term cash flow hacking. The purpose of utilizing an infinite banking policy the right way is to utilize it to accumulate cash flowing investments, and then using the cash flow to manage the policy loans, never interrupting the growth of your money. And that's where real power of the growth can start to happen. If you focus on utilizing your banking policy for the purposes of cash flow investing, this is where you can reach your financial goals much, much faster. That's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's what freedom is all about. This is how we've been able to get to the Dominican Republic here. This is how we've got these projects going on down here. This is why I'm going to be launching the fund. This is why I'm going to be doing a lot of these things. And I wish everybody knew what I knew and could experience what I'm experiencing, because you go out and you'd execute and implement the same things. But the thing I'll say to this is that you can't draw blood from a rock. So you got to figure out, this is a reverse engineer situation, figure out where you want to go, what your time frame is, and your funding of the policy needs to be in alignment with reality to accomplish your goals. You don't want to stress yourself to the point where you put yourself at financial risk, but you also don't want to make it too easy so you are not going to reach your goals. Think about it as a forced savings plan to accomplish your goals. That's kind of how I look at the funding mechanisms of your policy. So the eighth step in an infinite banking policy, according to Chat GPT, is accumulating cash value. Over time, your premium payments will accumulate as cash value within the policy. The cash value grows on a tax-deferred basis, and you can access it through policy loans or withdrawals. All right, so this is true. Yeah, as you go through and the policy matures and you keep making premium payments and you're consistent with that, and the more money you put in, the more money you're going to have access to for whatever it is that you want, like we just talked about in the last step. And so when you fund this thing, you want to make sure that you're doing it consistently and you have access to that money through policy loans and withdrawals. Depending on when you're wanting to utilize that money and how you're wanting to use that money, if you're really utilizing it for cash flow investments, or you're utilizing it for major purchases for a business or maybe a car when you're younger, I would say you don't want to use the withdrawal method almost ever. That's kind of like a last case scenario. You always want to use policy loans, and I've got a lot of other videos that explain why that is the case. That would be another 20-minute explanation. But you want to use policy loans, not withdrawals. Now, when you're in retirement income, it can make sense sometimes to do withdrawals up to cost basis, meaning withdraw money until you have, while you don't have to pay taxes on that money, and then take policy loans after you've hit the cost basis and kind of go from there. So there's just different strategies. Once again, on how you access your money, just know that you have access to it tax-free. The strategy in which you access that money is absolutely imperative to your success in doing so, and I think that's really important to understand. You got to work with an advisor that can coach you through that, and that's why we just love to help people here, is because you need to understand this. And I see so many times people get into this and they don't understand the actual nuances of how it works, and they get stuck and they get involved with a product that is actually really amazing for them, but they don't like it and they're not excited about it because they don't truly understand the power that they're holding as a financial tool. So that was number 8. Let's get into number 9. So number 9, according to Chat GPT, on how to start an infinite banking policy, is implement the infinite banking strategy. All right, this is just common sense, right? Let me read this off. With sufficient cash value built up, you can start using your policy as a banking system. Borrow against the cash value to finance purchases, investments, or other financial needs. Repay the loans over time, which replenishes the cash value and allows for future borrowing. So this is just it, and I love this. I love this description. I love the process, because one of the things that I always say to people is that you are not really implementing your banking policy. Everybody's like, buy a banking policy. You're not implementing a banking strategy until you capitalize your bank. So it says it very well here. Number 8, you got to build up your cash value. Number 9, you start to implement the infinite banking strategy, but you can only do that once you've capitalized your account. So I think that's amazing. Let's get into number 10. Continuously monitor and adjust. Infinite banking requires ongoing monitoring and adjustment. Regularly review the performance of your policy, assess your financial goals, and make any necessary modifications in consultation with your advisor. Remember, infinite banking is a complex financial strategy, and it's important to seek guidance from a qualified financial professional who can tailor the approach to your specific circumstances. So this is really just on point. One of the things that we really focus on here at Life 180 is, and I think it really differentiates us, is to be there throughout the life of the policy with our clients, because a lot of times you can get these policies and they look really good on paper, and where you are right now is probably not where you're going to be in 5 and 10 years from now. And so working with a company that is going to be there with you and for you and to coach you, and if you have any changes and if you need any consultations on how the policy is going to interface and interact with any kind of investment or major purchase that you want to actually go out and take advantage of, having a coach and an advisor that can be there for you to help you understand how your policy is in alignment with what your goals are and how that will change over time is absolutely essential. So that is it. Those are the 10 steps. I think overall they were really good. I love this Chat GPT thing. It's a great place to start the research. I think the only variable in this step that I really didn't align with is the fact that it didn't spend much time talking about the preparation in between 4 and 5, right? Talking about like between when you apply and between when you go through the medical exam, like there's that whole step. It didn't really explain that out on what you should be doing while you're going through the process on the other side with your advisor, how you should be handling your personal finances when they're going through the underwriting process, so to speak. So that is it. So hopefully you found value in this. If you did, like it, share it, get it out there, please. I appreciate all the love and the support that I'm getting from the channel here and from all you guys watching this content. Hopefully you're finding value in it. If you found value in this, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribing to the bell. That way you're notified every time I launch a new video, because I do this every single day. Till next time, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon. See ya.